Hey guys, we're going to give you a walkthrough of the 2021 Retreat 39 MKTS. Now this is a full-size park model. It's got the high ceilings and the wide structure of the starting on the front, you've got two 30-pound propane tanks. Lift this off to get access to them, and you'll see that there is a valve here that you can switch from one side to the other. Depending what tank you want to use. We do recommend that you go one side or the other and not in between, as if you try and run both at the same time, you'll draw propane from both tanks, and then you'll be out of propane completely. So if you just do one side, empty it, switch to the other side, and you can refill this one. When you're using the tanks, make sure they're either all the way open or all the way closed. Don't try and run them halfway open. You want the full pressure into the lines of the system. Following behind the propane tank there is a battery that's fully charged, ready to go. And then walking down the side here, you've got the big picture windows, which is one of the great features of this unit. But also just looking at all the trim around here, this is all caulked with our RV caulking. And you're going to want to make sure you check this caulking that's around all the different areas along the side, on the slide box here, up the slide, just on a regular basis. Every 3 to 6 months, we do recommend you do that walk around and check your caulking. If you see anything that's dried out or started to crack, you're going to make sure that you peel that off, clean the area, and apply a new bead of RV caulking. If you don't, you could allow water or moisture into the unit, which can damage the inside. Also on maintenance, your rubber roof is another thing to be cautious of. So we recommend every 6 months, so spring and fall, make sure you do a cleaning and a conditioning of the rubber roof. If you do that, you'll maintain that rubber roof for a long time. If you don't, over time that rubber will dry out and crack, and you'll again let moisture into the unit. So just two main things: caulking and rubber roof conditioning. Make sure you're doing it on a regular basis, and it should make sure you keep your unit up and running pretty well. Coming down the side, you've got a big slide here, which is in the back side of the kitchen. And then down to this area, your water heater is located right here. It's a bigger water heater than comes in an RV. So it's a good size. It runs on electric and propane. You have to have propane in the system for this to run and pressurized. So you can try and run it on propane, and if it doesn't get propane through the system because there's air in the lines or you're out of propane, it will attempt to run 3 times and then default to off. You can run electric. This switch here is the default to set to allow you to use electric. When you're ready in the winter time to winterize it, we always say click that to the off position, so that when you summerize it in the summertime, if you started up your electric water heater without any water in it, you could damage the unit and have to get it replaced. So that's sort of a default switch to off for the winterization. And then in the summer, once you're ready and you're ready for the year and you're good to go and you got water, then you can turn that on, and you can turn the electric element on from the inside panel. This is your anode rod. It's what's inside the unit to take all the corrosion that potentially would damage it. So this actually takes and corrodes away over time. So every year to 2 years, you're probably going to need to replace this. It's the plug that goes in there that stops the water from coming out, and it needs to be tightened down securely. But when you are ready to replace it, you'll pull it out and you'll see it's all basically just a wire with a bunch of corrosion on it at that point, and that's protecting your tank. So just something to remember there, that you need to replace once in a while. Put that back on. This is the outlet for your furnace. So exhaust heat comes out of this, so it gets pretty hot at times, so be careful when you are running your furnace that this doesn't get too hot to the touch. You don't want to put your hand on it. When you are ready to run your furnace and you haven't run it in a while, just do a visual inspection of these 2 tubes here to make sure that there's no debris or wasp nests or anything in there that could cause a fire hazard. So if it's nice and clear, then you should be able to run your furnace. And again, your furnace does run on propane, so for heat you're going to need to make sure you have propane in the system and pressurized. Right over here is one of your tank flushes. So you have a couple of gray waters and a black tank on board. When you're ready to clean out that black tank, you hook your hose up here, and that pushes water through the black tank. So make sure that you do have your valve open on the black tank when you're going to do that, and connect it to a sewer line into a septic system. If you try and run that tank flushed with that closed, you'll fill up the tank, and then once it fills up, it's going to keep filling up onto the inside of the unit, so you don't want to do that. So make sure that your black tank valve is open and running freely when you use that. On this unit, you've got 2 outlets. You've got a gray water tank outlet on the front here, which is just a valve operated unit. So you need to hook up one sewer line to that, and you have to hook up your second sewer line to this back where there's a gray and a black outlet right down to the below. So you're going to need to run 2 lines into a V and then 1 into your septic bed for this to operate correctly. Moving down the unit, we have some storage here under the bed. I'll open this. Open that up and you see there's lots of storage in there. This is where we currently have your power cable, so when it's time to hook this up, your power cable typically be located in there. So that is all ready to go. You can access that storage from inside as well. So it's underneath the bed, just flip up the bed. There is a possibility to option a washer dryer on this. So if you do that, there's hookups inside in one of the closets, and the actual outlet for that washer is right there. So it's another area to plumb in that you would have to drain when you're running your washing system. So it needs the water to go somewhere, and that's where it goes. So you'd have to hook that up if you're optioning for that. Come around the back. Now again, this is a park model style, so it's not really meant to be towed very often. It's meant to be put in a park and set up and left there for a while, but it does come with rear brake lights and driving lights and turn signals on it. On the back you also have an inlet, so if there's satellite or cable in the area, you can hook up there, which then feeds that signal throughout the unit to where the TVs are located. Your city water connection on this unit goes in here. So it's just your regular RV style hose from your post, goes into here and you hand tighten it. Don't try and over tighten that with any kind of wrenching, because it is a plastic connection and you could damage that doing that, and then you've got to replace the whole unit. So just snug fit until it stops leaking by hand, and then you're good to go. When you run your pressure, or you run your water in from the post in it does have pressure already in it. So it's going to run that pressure from the post in through the unit. You won't need any kind of water pump. However, if you do feel like you want to run off your water holding tank, which is this connection right here, so you take your hose and you just stick it in there and let it fill up and then take it out. It doesn't attach, it's just a handheld connection. And if you fill that up and you want to run your water, there's an electric water pump on the inside on the panel that will show you that you need to run to use that tank. Most people aren't going to run off of that. They're going to run off their city water connection from the park, but if you do, that's where that is. Back of the unit, you've also got a shower, outside shower. It comes with a handheld and hot and cold running water. Obviously your water heater needs to be running and you have to have water in the system, but that's where you would do it, be able to clean pets and kids and stuff off on the outside, so you don't track it into the inside of the unit. Coming down this side, we have the stairs to get in and out of the unit, both here at the back door and at the patio door. They're collapsible stairs. They can be used as they are and folded up or not, or a lot of people will put these against decks since they are seasonal, so they'll build a deck. One thing to remember when you're building that deck, that when you're coming along this side of the unit, you got to leave about 3 inches of spacer. In our climate, with the freezing and thaw through the winter and the spring, the RV will move and the deck will move, and if they get too close together, they can cause damage, and you don't want to see that. So make sure you leave that 3-inch gap. Some people put them too tight and then they end up damaging the side of their unit, or even worse, popping up off a trim piece and letting moisture into the unit. So just be cautious of that. Further down the unit, we do have the big patio sliding door. We'll show you from the inside how that operates. Stairs below if you need to use them. And there is a screen door that's just not on here. That is a sliding screen door. It's just on the bed right now for transport. And up above, you've got your power awning, all operated on the inside. It does have an LED light strip on it. Again, awnings are just for sunshade. They're not made to deal with any kind of real rain or wind. In either case, it can be damaged quite easily, and they are fairly expensive to replace, and they're not covered under warranty when it's that kind of wear and tear. So be cautious of it. If you're leaving your unit for any period of time, don't leave the awning out. You never know when a wind or rainstorm can come up and damage that awning. So just another point to watch yourself on. And then you have your front slide here, which is the big dinette and sitting area with the big picture windows, which again we talked about at the beginning, which is a great feature. So that's the outside of the 39 MKTS, and now it's time to go inside. Welcome to the inside of the 39 MKTS. We're going to start in the back master bedroom here. As I mentioned on the outside, it does have the fittings for a washer dryer, so if you're ever going to put one in, it goes in here, and there are connections on the wall there with a plug to be able to operate that. And again, you'd have to have the plumbing outside to be able to deal with that water, but that's where it goes. Sliding mirrored doors here for where for your closet, and you have underbed storage under here. It's a flipped up with a lot of storage. You've also see under there is typically located is the onboard central vac hose. So that's where that goes. And again, that's your door. It's just on the bed right now for transport. We put them on when we get them into the RV park. To operate the lights and the fan on the ceiling in here, they're on the wall on this side. So if the lighting is right here, I turn on the interior lights, and this button is for the fan. And it has a couple of settings that you adjust by pulling on this, and then there's a reversing option on the fan there to change the direction of the fan and blow up or blow down depending on what you're looking for. So we'll turn that off. Next, we're going to go into the master bathroom. You have two entrances to the master bathroom, one from the bedroom area and one from the hall. So you can have the door shut and still have access to the washroom if you're sleeping and somebody else wants to use it. It's a full sliding corner shower, which gives great light and lots of space to actually have a shower in here. There is a big sink area with mirror and everything in here, and a full toilet. The fan on the ceiling is operated by the switching mechanism here, and that will exhaust the unit, and then you get a light switch on the wall as well. So we'll turn those off. And you have lots of storage in this washroom here with these lots of areas to place your towels and everything else that you want in your washroom. So we're going to move down into the main area. The first thing we're going to look at is the panel. This is where most of the things in your unit are controlled. So you have a leveling here, or a level of your tanks and your battery. So if you want to know how charged your battery is, you click the battery button. It'll go from E to F. In this case, it's on full. Fresh water tank is at 1/3. We probably have a little bit of water in there as we are working the system. Your black tank and your gray tank levels. So that's when you're ready to check your levels of your black and gray tanks, that's where you do it. And when they're getting to be full, then you can empty them down into the septic system. On the below here, you've got the water heater. You can run it on gas or electric or both. If you click it on gas, this fault line will light up here as it's starting to cycle through. Again, it will try 3 times to ignite, and if it doesn't, this light will come back on and say that there's a fault, which typically means that you don't have propane in the system. So we're going to turn that off, but just watch for that light if you're going to run gas. If you're typically you're going to run electric in your park, you just click that, and again, you need to make sure there's water in that tank, otherwise you'll burn that element and that tank out pretty quickly if you're trying to heat a tank without water in it. On the right here, we have the water pump. So if you're going to use your onboard water storage, you click that. That will then turn on the pump and pressurize the water from the onboard tank into the plumbing. And then it'll run until it's pressurized and then stop. And then when you use the water from the taps, it'll run again to keep pressurizing it. So there's a little bit of a noise with it, but it does work fairly well. Again, your awning has the LED light underneath it, and that's your light there. So you click that on to turn that light on. And then you've got a bunch of switches down here for your lights in the different areas of the unit as we go through and turn them all on. One light that is not labeled here is your under island ambient lighting. So if you click that on, you'll see that lighting under the island comes on. I'll turn it back off just to show you what it looks like. That's off. So that's that switch. And finally at the bottom here we have the sliding mechanisms and the awning in and out. So all your slides are on a hydraulic system where it's least resistance first. So you operate all of the slides at once from this switch. So they're all out right now. If I wanted to switch, close them all up, I'd hit slide in, and then all the slides would slowly independently come in at the same time, or one after the other depending on the pressure and the hydraulic system, and the same on the way out. So there's only one button to operate all the slides. The awning, to put the awning out or bring it back, is this switch here. You roll the awning all the way out until the final little flap comes down at the end, and that means you're all the way out, and then again you retract it all the way in until it comes in contact with the side of the unit. The last switch on the wall below that is your fan over the in the living area, so that's on, and you'll see that that fan starts to turn there. And again, it's like the one in the bath or the bedroom, where it has multiple speeds based on that pull, and then a reversing switch if you want to change the direction of it. Okay, so heating and cooling of the unit is controlled through this one. This is your thermostat. You set the temperature of what you want it to be. If you're going to use heating and cooling, then you can have a bunch of settings in the below. You can run it on heat, which is going to heat to the temperature you've set based on the propane furnace. When it gets to set temperature, it will turn itself off. And you can also run the fan over on this side, which runs the fan independently of a temperature, just runs it, and then you have your AC on the very far end. Again, when you set the temperature on your up here, it will control the AC to bring that temperature down to what you set it to. Now, the ACs on these units are not designed to get these down to 55 or below 60, so don't expect that, but they will get it down to a comfortable room temperature, what you'd expect AC to do. So don't be expecting it to be freezing cold in here, but it will cool the unit down very nicely as it's set up. You have also control of the fan settings. We typically say just run the fan in auto, and you can have auto high or low, or you can have the fan running at all times on high or low. So we usually say just run auto and then set either heat, cool, or fan or off, and it will take care of the rest based on the temperature you set. So I'm going to turn those all off. Now, when you do turn these on and off, don't be surprised, specifically the furnace, that it runs for a little bit longer, as it's just trying to cycle through any leftover heat in there before it finally shuts down. And the same with the cooling system. If sometimes you move over and it might take a minute just to cycle through its checks before it clicks in and turns on or off. Okay, let's move into the rest of the unit here, which is one of the main features. You've got really big windows on every corner of the unit, with great sitting area, full of couches, reclining dinette, and this big island here in the center. It has a big countertop, lots of cooktop space, and over here specifically, you get another area to put your coffee machines and everything. So starting at this side, this is your onboard central vac. You switch it on or off here. The hose is again under your bed typically at this moment, and then you hook your hose and hook it into there for it to actually run that way. When you're ready to set your bag or change your bag, you'll open this up, pull it out, and there's your bag. Pull that out and replace it with another bag. Put it back in. There we go, and it just secures. Lots of drawers, backsplash plugs. All your plugs in the unit are running only when you're plugged in. It will not run off the battery. You have one of the newer fridges. It's a big double door main refrigerator area, and then two cooling areas for freezers down there and down at the below. So you can set the temperature of the main fridge or the two cooling based on the control panel here. This round circle here is your lock. So when you're ready to make a change to this, you have to hold that in for 3 seconds until it beeps, and then you can control your unit. So this is your temp zone. So right now it's at the top. You can change the temp zone by clicking that, and it drops down to the two below. Right now we're going to talk about the top part, and then to change the temperature here, you press the temp set button, and it will go through a cycle of its range that it can cool to. And then back to 34. So we typically run around 37 for the fridge. Now if we want to go down and change the temperature of the freezer, you click the temp zone button again. It's set to 0, and again you click the temp set to depending on what temperature you want. Now this is in Fahrenheit, so we do say typically you're probably going to want to run around 0 degrees Fahrenheit for your freezers, and leave it at that point. And then when you're done setting your fridge and freezer, then you hold this down to lock it again so nobody else can touch it at that point and won't respond. So that's your fridge. Moving down a little farther, you've got your cooktop and your oven here. Your cooktop operates just again off of your propane. You would turn on what burner you want it to go, and then hold the ignition button down, and then it would ignite. I do use these occasionally if I've got air in the lines to turn on a burner, try and ignite it, and then wait for it to finally ignite, and then run it for a couple of seconds to make sure the air is out of the lines. So that's how you operate the 3 up here. Your oven is a similar fashion. So if you want to turn the oven on, you'd push in and over to the setting of turn on. You'll hear that clicker starts going, and then eventually it would light when the propane's there, and then you release and then set your temperature, and it'll operate that way. And you have a timer on this side. So nice oven there, and then up above you've got your residential style microwave. It's actually a really large microwave for an RV, so it's a good feature. We'll keep going down to your pantry. So nice big pantry here with a sensor light on it. So that light will automatically turn off after a minute or two, but when it senses the motion of you opening that door, it will automatically turn on. Then you have your 55, I believe it's size-wise, TV, which is huge for the unit, followed by your stereo. Your stereo is connected to your TV, so you can play those DVDs in there, and it will go through the speakers in the unit. But you can also listen to radio or pair your phone onto the unit to listen to music throughout the unit or outside, depending on what zone on the system you want to set it to. On the bottom, you get a very large electric fireplace. It's got multiple settings for different colors, different temperatures, different fan speeds. And you can just run, you don't have to always have it on heat. You can just have the light on, or you can have it producing heat for you as well. And your big couch, big reclining seats, and lighting over everything. So just these lights over the dinette and this area are switched on and off here. And then you've got your pendant lights above that are another nice feature of the unit that gives you that extra little bit of touch, plus the skylight above it. So it's a nice sunny day outside, but it's really bright in here right now, especially with all the whites of the cabinetry and the countertops and all the lighting and everything. So that's your walkthrough of your 39 MKTS. If you have any questions, just give us a call.